So I'm recording the session, just in case you need it later. We'll carry on with more chats and more hands-on exercises related to optimization. And we'll start off with what we were doing yesterday. Everybody ready? Make sure you've got your solver up and everything. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Megan. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Jessica, Jonathan. All right. So, quick review of yesterday. I know you had a very long day yesterday, so a lot of the stuff, thank you for bearing with me. But as we move forward, I think it will make a bit more sense. So, I'll just give you the very basic, right? We're not going to run through the whole course. Even if we do that, we'll do it very quickly. So it always starts with what exactly are we trying to get at? So in this case, the whole idea behind optimization is for a human being, and optimization is a big part of artificial intelligence. AI decides what to do and how to do it, keeping all these parameters intact, right? And it's very difficult for a human being to actually figure that out. So I'll give you 3 other examples today, in addition to the one we did yesterday. So let's start off. Once again, a hospital offers a series of services, and the average cost of each service is specified right out here. So the first thing to do is, what are the options that we have? So these are the steps. Firstly, what are the options that we have, or the scenarios that we have? What are the costs or issues related to the scenario? In this case, the hospital scenario is that you've got 4 different groups: internal medicine, gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, and assume endocrinology. I could have had it as ER, doesn't really matter. And internal medicine, every time you do a procedure or a service, each service costs $500 in personnel, $300 in facilities overhead, $100 in medicine, $5 in indirects. Your billing, or the amount you end up charging, is $1,210, and the profit therefore is equal to, once again, nothing but the price you're charging, $1,210 in this case, minus the sum of all the costs. So the sum of all the costs out here are marked there, and you've got your 305. Similarly, you can do the same across all of them. Now, if you look at it, it gives you a very basic idea that these are the profits. $305 profit for internal medicine, each service procedure, $235 for gastrointestinal, $310 for cardiovascular, $195 for endocrinology. Now, if we were to ask a general human being that, hey, do you think which one should we focus on the most? Our typical response is likely to be, well, cardiovascular seems to be pretty good and internal medicine seems to be pretty good. Let's focus the most on that. And I suppose that would be more of an intuitive reaction whenever we are working based on a hunch, or even say that, oh, based on data. We're just saying that, well, that's what seems to be the 2 higher return pieces. But here's the interesting thing. So we also have a budget. We have a personnel budget, we have a facilities overhead budget, we have a medicine budget, and we have an indirects budget. And in this case, we've made up these numbers: 120,000. Let's say assume 150,000. So we'll change the numbers a bit. 150,000, maybe 130,000. 130,000. Perhaps 100,000. And suppose 40,000. And we've got these budgets. Everything has a budget. So based on that, the question is, should we still stick to overall basic ideas of what a notional idea of what's going on? 310 and 35, more profit, go for those. The answer is perhaps yes, perhaps no. Let's see what we do. So once you've got this figured out, this is your schedule. And this is massively important because this is the overall benchmark based on which we are making all our decisions. This is our decision-making piece. This is our entire decision-making piece. And let's mark that. So that's our decision-making piece. That's actually bit harsh. So that's our decision-making piece. And that's our one of our primary constraints, which is, and we'll put that in some version out there. So you've got your general structure, which is the information that, the data that you're going to collect from your own companies if you are doing something similar. And I suppose you can always do something similar. This is your decision story, and then this is your budget. So all we do is we say that let's start off by saying, assume you're offering one of each service, just to check. And that's a good counterbalance because you know that if it's one, they should all be the same. If you change it to 3, they should be times 3, and gives you a quick check. And the way you do it is, so you say, what would it cost the company to offer one single internal medicine service? And the answer is, well, personnel services for internal medicine seem to be $500 for each service, so it must be 500 times 1, which is nothing but is equal to 1 times cost of personnel for each service, And we have that. You see the same thing for facilities. It's nothing but the number of services we are offering for internal medicine times the cost for each, the facilities overhead cost for each internal medicine service. And we've got 300. So that way we know exactly, make sure that a good checkpoint is turn everything to 2, turn everything to 5, turn everything to 10. Let's suppose we turn this into 10. To make sure everything is working, all the numbers should change in the same multiple. As long as those numbers are changing in the same multiple, you should be perfectly fine. Everybody okay up to this or until this point? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lovely. All right. So then all we do is we let, optimization once upon a time used to be 3, 4, 5 days, 7-day complicated procedure that now we can solve possibly a few seconds, right? So we go to data, and you see Solver is right out there. And we open Solver, and I'm going to reset everything. And as I always say, as long as we understand the logic of what we're doing, it's going to be very straightforward. You can really use it to our advantage. So our objective in this case is we want to offer, or we want to sort of build the highest amount of profit or maximize our profits based on the services that we offer. And where is our total profit? Our total profit is in this cell. See, H15, that's the cell. It could be different in your case, right? It depends on wherever your total profit is. And now, do we want to maximize our objective, minimize our objective, or keep it at a certain value? So we'll say, we want to maximize our objective. So we say max. And they're saying, all right, we want to maximize profit, your total profit, I understand that. What do you want to change in order to maximize your profits? And we say, all right, what we want to change are the number of services that we want to offer. And those are nothing but B11 to B14. And then the third question that they're asking is, do we have any constraints? And of course we do. So we say that, all right, let's do each constraint at a time. The first constraint, of course, is the fact that we have to offer these services as whole numbers, integers in this case. So that's one. So the service, you can't have fractional services. Second one is that these services can't be negative. You can't offer -6 service. So we say they have to be greater than or equal to 0. And the third one, of course, is that every time it's interesting. You know what, Dave, I'm going to try and see if I can share the entire. Can I? Let me see. Let me see if I can stop sharing the application for a second and then share the whole window. That's where you might be able to spot it. All right, can you see the entire? Let's see. All right. Can you all see the entire set now? All right, lovely, cool. All right. In that case, so I suppose you can see the constraints too. Lovely, thank you, Dave. All right, so let me cancel this, given that, and I'm going to reset it again and redo it. So let's say, so we'll close this, get back to the whole set, open solver, and once again, let's do a quick run through. Our objective in this case is total profit. So total profit is right out here. We're saying, all right, that's our objective. We want to maximize our total profit by changing certain cells, which is the number of services that we offer. And the number of services are right out here. And so these are the number of services. 10, because I just put in 10 for some reason. It doesn't have to be that way. And what are the constraints? Firstly, the constraints are as follows. The services ought to be integers. Secondly, the services that we offer ought to be greater than or equal to 0. Third, every time we're offering a service, your costs change. As your costs change, we also have to make sure that we're staying under budget. So our total cost for offering each service should be less than or equal to our budget. Less than or equal to, right? So we want to stay under budget. So once we do that, you'll see a quick review. So once again, our objective is total profit, which we want to maximize. We want to do that by changing the variable cells, which are nothing but the number of services for number of each service that we want to offer. And we have certain constraints. The first constraint, of course, is that the services that we offer have to be whole numbers. The second is that the services that we offer have to be greater than or equal to 0. We can't have negative. And thirdly, the cost that we accumulate for offering whatever number of services we offer should be less than the amount that's been budgeted for it. And we click on, so, if you want to try it, make it easier, go for simplex LP, because GRG nonlinear tries to assume that it's not a linear solution, which means it might be a curvilinear solution, which takes a longer time to run it, because it's trying to run it through a like a curve versus run it as increasing at the same rate. But we'll just say simplex and we'll click solve. And it says that it's found a solution, and given that I've changed the numbers, the solutions change too. So now it's saying that our total profit in this case, and do realize the numbers are different, the solution is different because I changed the numbers. So the total profit, let's assume we're adding, that's a terrible color. We're adding that we've added to our budget. So it was 120, I think 110,000 or something like that. It's now 150,000. It says something very interesting. It's basically saying, given the budget that you have currently decided upon, you basically should be offering 220 gastrointestinal services and 210 cardiovascular services, and no internal medicine and no endocrinology. If you do that, then you're going to have 116,800 in profits. You'll have 116,800 in profits, and you'll have $55,900 left over in unused budgets. And that is very interesting, right? Because we see there's so much budget left for indirect, so much budget left for medicine, very little budget left over for facilities, and zero budget left for personnel. So using up your personnel budget. So we talked about it, we never did it yesterday. So, if you're as a decision maker, you say that, all right, we've got $55,900 that we're not using. Can we reinvest it in the operations? So in the operations, in terms of increasing the operational budgets. So let's play around with it. So 55,900, let's say it's 56,000. So we'll say instead of 150,000, we'll add, can somebody propose a number to add from that 56,000? So from the 56,000, we want to divvy that 56,000 into as operational reinvestments back into the system. How much should we add to the personnel budgets? Anybody? 20,000. All right, let's go for 20,000. So we'll change it to 170,000. And what about facilities? How much should we add to the facilities? So we've added 20,000 to that, which basically means we would, frankly speaking, have about 36,000 left. So where should we add the other 36,000? Mary, where do you want to add 200 to which one? Or was it 200,000 you meant? So 15,000 to facilities, add another 15,000. So let's say 28,000. We've added 15,000 to facilities. And then in that case, so actually let's play around with this. So assume we've just taken 38,000 out of the 56,000 that was left over and operationally reinvested it in order to increase the operational budget for personnel from 150 to 170 and facilities from what was it, 15,000 to 28,000, or 15,000, you said add another 15,000 to facilities, let's say 30,000. So let's see what happens. And go back to Solver. We won't change anything other than just the solution itself. So we've got everything set up. Let's go for solve. Let's see what happens. And says it found a solution, right? It found a solution, but the solution itself is a very tricky solution. Because what we have done, oh, actually, that should have been 300,000. No, it can't be 300,000. How much was it previously? 110,000, was it? It was 130,000, so add another 18,000, so that would have been 148,000. Sorry, I screwed it up. All right, so now we'll solve it. And you see we found a solution that subtly says that, now look at this, it's very interesting. Previously we had 156,900 as profits and 56,900 or so or 55,900 as unused budget. Now we have 132,390 in profits, and we have 44,320 in unused budget. Looks like the previous combination was a much better combination. And it also tells you something very interesting. It's saying that if you really want to add some more potential, add to your personnel, it shows that personnel costs are very high. So from this 44,320, let's assume we're just going to put in 30,000, add 30,000 to personnel, so turn it to 200,000, and we've got another 14,000 left, add another 14,000 out there. So 148 and 14 is 162,000. And let's see what happens this time. This is just a scenario where, and we don't have time to go through something related to like sensitivity analysis in Excel, but frankly speaking, that would even start telling you stories in terms of where would you put some more money in, right? And so forth. So we'll do that. I think the problem right now is that we've got too much budget for indirects, and that budget needs to go away. So you see we have $33,760 left in unused budgets, out of which 33,560 is left in indirects. So once again, we'll do the last play, which is, let's assume we're putting in 30,000 from indirects. So we're reducing your indirects. Actually, I should have been reducing the other ones too. I really screwed up. So we'll reduce the 33,000. So reduce that to possibly 10,000 and put in 220,000 out here. 220,000 out here. Yes, I just kept on changing the budget without taking it out from somewhere else. And finally, we'll do this, and we'll call it a day of iteration. Oh, bloody hell. Sorry, I'll have to restart Excel. I think it just quit. So let me try and restart it. Share files. Let me open this up. All right. So what we're going to do is, so I'm going to, can you guys still see the screen?
Good.
Good, lovely. All right, so if you can still see the screen, then so we've got 44,320 left over, so, and out of which 33,830 is just stuck in indirects. So what we will do is let's say we will take away perhaps 30,000 from that and just keep it as 10,000 and add 30,000 to personnel and turn it into 200,000. And we'll do the final run just to see what happens. Solver, everything else is there, and let's see. And Solver found a solution. It basically says 100 based on this setup. Don't offer any endocrinology. offer 335 cardiovascular services every week, 145 gastrointestinal services, and 45 internal medicine services. Now, once you know that, you can simply say that, well, based on that, we know exactly how many of each type of personnel. From physicians, we know that we need most number of cardiovascular physicians, or the most number of shifts for cardiovascular physicians, followed by gastrointestinal physicians and nurses, followed by internal medicine, and you shouldn't be wasting your money on endocrinology. So that gives you a sense. You've got $151,650 total profit and $4,300 in terms of unused budget. The other version that we did yesterday was assume the other one, another division of the hospital, is a cost center, and all it wants to do is use up its budget, right? So in that case, we say, what's our objective? We want to reduce our total unused budget, which is right out here, and we want to minimize that, and everything else remains exactly the same. And let's see what happens. So it looks like in this case, nothing really changed. Nothing changed whatsoever, because it looks like that is the best solution regardless of whether you wanted to maximize your profit or minimize your unused budgets. And that actually is quite interesting, because this basically has optimized it for both. It's both a mini-max solution. You're minimizing your unused budget while maximizing your total profit. You don't always find it, but this is quite extraordinary, actually, that you found the same numbers whether you want to minimize your unused budget or your total profit, which means it's hit the cusp of both minimizing unused budgets and maximizing your total profits. Is this bit clear as of now? Good. Shall we try another version of it? Let's go for it. All right. Thank you very much. So let's try a slightly different version, which is, so I'm going to show you 4 different types of optimization runs. They're all likely to come in handy. How you use them, completely up to you, because anytime if you ever want me to chat with you personally to see if I can customize or tailor the solution based on exactly what your company is doing, I'd be more than happy to, and then you can take it back to your companies. So let's try something in terms of warehousing. So let me tell you the basic structure behind this. So this is a company that basically sells products to Best Buy, Sharper Image, Target, and Brookstone. It has 2 warehouses, one in Cleveland and one in Akron. Think of it very much like it's a vendor who ships, whether you're talking about things like VMIs. VMI stands for Vendor Managed Inventory. And VMI is interesting because nowadays the whole idea is we will rather have our vendors ship directly to you. I see Amazon do that all the time. They'll say sold and shipped by vendor, which basically means Amazon is not wasting its time or space by hanging on to all these pieces of inventory, because inventory turnover is very important, and Amazon doesn't want to pack up its warehouses so much that it doesn't actually have room to move. So it chooses strategically in terms of what do we want to hold on and use as prime shipping, and what do we want our vendors to hold on as vendor managed inventory. So this company has 2 warehouses. Has 2 warehouses, one in Cleveland and one in Akron, and they ship to Best Buy, Sharper Image, Target, and Brookstone. It costs $1 to ship from the Cleveland warehouse to Best Buy. It costs $3 to ship from the Cleveland warehouse to Sharper Image. It costs 50 cents to ship from the Cleveland warehouse to Target, and it costs $4 to ship from the Cleveland warehouse to Brookstone. On the other hand, this is their existing cost structure. Remember, the very first is always the schedule. You have to build a schedule first, because otherwise we really don't know where we're getting the numbers from. And this, in this case, is the schedule that we have. This is our schedule. Schedule is nothing but your basically cost or your pricing template based on which all decisions will be made. So this is your primary baseline on which all decisions will be made. So once again, a company has warehouses in these two cities, Cleveland and Akron, from which it ships to 4 of its vendors: Best Buy, Sharper Image, Target, and Brookstone. We know the cost because the company has the cost schedule on hand. They know that this is the average cost of shipping an average product from Cleveland to Best Buy, from the Cleveland warehouse to Best Buy, $1, $3 from Cleveland to warehouse to Sharper Image, it's 50 cents from Cleveland warehouse to Target, $4 from Cleveland warehouse to Brookstone. On the other hand, from Akron warehouse, it's $2.50 to ship to Best Buy, $3 to ship to Sharper Image, $1.50 to ship from the Akron warehouse to Target, and $2.50 to ship from the Akron warehouse to Brookstone. Now, from these distribution centers, the company wants to know, they have two things that are very important to them. Firstly, how much inventory can each warehouse hold? Looks like Cleveland warehouse can hold 60,000 pieces of inventory. Akron warehouse can hold 80,000 pieces of inventory, right? And which means the total inventory that they can have on hand. So total inventory capacity is 140,000 units, right? 60,000 in Cleveland, 80,000 in what do you call this, Akron. Now this is very important because, frankly speaking, if you can't ship more than what you can hold, right? That's their capacity. The second thing is, every client, every customer, every client has certain periodic requirements in terms of how much they want in terms of products. Best Buy wants 47,000 products from you every quarter. Sharper Image wants 29,000 products from you every quarter. Target wants 38,000 products from you every quarter. Brookstone wants 20,000 products from you each quarter. Right? Everybody clear up to this point? Sweet. All right, brilliant. Now, so thank you very much. All right, now that we've got that, so once again, Cleveland warehouse, Akron warehouse, each warehouse can ship to each of the 4 clients. There's a cost that they incur from shipping. That's your schedule. How much you ship will depend upon multiple different things. Firstly, how much can you hold your capacity, and of course, how much your customers want as a requirement, right? So the way you set it up, in this case, these are your changing cells. So let's mark these as, and then put a color onto them. So these are your changing cells. Let's assume we're just shipping 1 unit from Cleveland to Best Buy, or Cleveland warehouse to Best Buy, Cleveland warehouse, Sharper Image, Cleveland warehouse to Target, Cleveland warehouse to Brookstone. Same thing, just shipping 1 unit from Akron warehouse to Best Buy, 1 unit from Akron warehouse to Sharper Image, 1 unit from Akron warehouse to Target, and 1 unit from Akron warehouse to Brookstone. So total, therefore, we will have shipped would be is nothing but the sum of how much we're shipping from each warehouse, and which is nothing but this set. And that, we've got form. On the other hand, total being shipped from Akron warehouse is this, and there it goes. Now, do you realize this is exactly how Amazon plans its warehouse shipments? This is exactly how everybody from DuPont to any company that deals with multiple warehouse to James's company is thinking of. We've got multiple different vendors, different places. Now, of course, before we move forward, my whole idea is to show you how to apply it. If you're not talking about services, your services can equally be plotted out here, because assume you work for a hospital, or if you work for a bank, you have different clients, different types of clients in different types of areas. And this might even be a way for you to say which areas should serve what type of clients. That's all this is saying. All this is asking is which warehouse should serve which clients. So you could even say we have all these area hospitals and we have all these clients. Each client has a certain cost associated with coming to this area hospital, but we also have to meet demands for these clients. There are a certain amount of client demands in terms of whatever therapeutic mechanism it is. And we also have certain capacity for each of our hospital centers that we can't ever surpass. Well, you have to maintain that. So whether it's a bank that needs to understand how should we serve customers in different areas. And I don't know if you heard this, but Deutsche Bank is moving heavily it's getting rid of all its investment products and just going for wealth management. And that's mainly because it's realizing it's going to open up many more touch points for areas where you have people that require wealth management services, and use that as an operational reinvestment from its trading structure. So whether it's a bank or it's any kind as a financial service, or a hospital as a healthcare service, or a production setup, or a warehousing or shipping setup, follows the same rules of logic. So I'm sorry, I'm just going on and on about it, but quick check. So we've got products that can be shipped from multiple different warehouses to multiple different customers. We start by saying that let's assume we're shipping one from each warehouse to each customer. Total shipped, we've figured out, and how much is each customer getting if, in this case, you're saying, I'm going to ship one product from the Cleveland warehouse to Best Buy and one product from the Akron warehouse to Best Buy. The total number of shipments or total items that Best Buy is getting is nothing but that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So it's equal to sum of this and that, which is B7 and B8. So you've got 2, and we can easily run that through. So right now we know if we're just shipping one from each warehouse, total we are shipping from the warehouses 4, and the total items that are being received, I shouldn't say total shipped, should be total received. So total received, 2 for Best Buy, 2 for Sharper Image, 2 for Target, 2 for Brookstone. Everybody clear up to this point? Because then we'll get into the solution provisioning. Lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Lovely. Fantastic. Now, we now know this is the order structure. This comes from companies, right? This is what they demand. This is what their contract is with you. They want 47,000. Best Buy wants 47,000 items every quarter. Sharper Image wants 29,000 items every quarter. Target wants 38,000 items every quarter. And Brookstone wants 20,000 items every quarter. So, sorry, I'm waiting for Joe to type something. Okay, while Joe finishes, I'm going to, let's carry on. So this is an interesting piece out here. So if I were to ask you, what is the total shipping cost if you were just shipping one item from the Cleveland warehouse and one item from the Akron warehouse to each of your 4 clients? The answer is, frankly speaking, we should basically be doing is equal to. So I'll do the long form first, and then I'll show you the short form, right? So we'll basically do one item shipped from Cleveland to Best Buy, and how much does it cost? $1. Plus one item shipped from Cleveland to Sharper Image, how much does it cost? $3. Plus one item shipped from Cleveland warehouse to Target, and how much does each item cost? 50 cents. Plus one item shipped from Cleveland warehouse to Brookstone, and how much does it typically cost to ship? $4. Plus one item shipped from Akron warehouse to Best Buy, and it costs $2.50 to ship it. Plus one item shipped from the Akron warehouse to Sharper Image, and it costs $5 to ship it. Plus one item shipped from the Akron warehouse to Target, and it costs $1.50 to ship it. And finally, one item shipped from the Akron warehouse to Brookstone, and it costs $2.50 to ship it. Sounds right, very straightforward. One, how many items you're shipping will basically make sure that this part you don't have to do as this long form, but if you want to do with the long form, you can, right? And let's click enter, and you see it's 20. Now, of course, there's a quicker solution, which is it's a very interesting Excel function called sum product. I can't even tell you how clever Excel, Microsoft programs logic into their systems. So sum product is very interesting. In that case, all it's doing is a shortcut. So we'll say is equal to sum product. So sum product follows, in programming you call it an array. It's an array to array marker. So we're saying sum product of this whole set. You have to remember where you're starting, where you're ending it, right? With the sum product, with this set, which is exactly going to be the same as 1 times 1 plus 1 times 3 plus 1 times 1, 4.5 plus 1 times 4 plus 1 times 2 plus 1 times 5 plus 1 times 1.5 plus 1 times 2.5. And let's see, there, 20. I'll do it once again. So is equal to sum product. And that's why it's called a sum product, because all it's doing is taking each product and summing the whole set up. So sum of, or you can do it the other way, it doesn't really matter, of this array and this array. And enter. And we've got 20. So we know this is our total shipping costs. These are our total shipping costs. That's one of our primary pieces to understand. Everybody okay until this point? So quick sum product calculation, which is just the same as doing a long form, can be done using a shortcut function. Sweet. Yes, I agree with you. In some product will win, indeed. Thank you, Ken. Everybody caught up to this point. Fantastic. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, James. Thank you, Sarah. Lovely. Thank you, Renee. Brilliant. Thank you, Mary. Lovely. And Nicole, thank you very much. Everybody else, okay too? Let's move on. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Stephen. Preemptive thank yous to Joe and Dave. Thank you, Alicia. All right, sweet. So that's the case. Now we get into solving it. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, sir. All right, now go to Data, open Solver. Now I'm just going to quickly go through the set and then we'll reset it and we'll do it again. Very straightforward. Once you've got the basic structure ready, and that's why I'm showing you the different ways to structure it. So you're saying, for example, talking about how you can use it in different ways. For example, if tomorrow, suppose Mary wants to understand, if I'm offering home care services and I have service providers who are based in different places, and there's a certain cost of getting them to the home care customer, question is, I might have 20 different service care providers and 40 different service clients. Each of them have a certain cost or a certain performance based on whatever they do. Based on that, you could actually figure out how would you try and maximize performance by choosing the right set for each group, or minimize your costs by, if then you create a cost schedule, or else you'll create a performance schedule and work it through. So let's look at this. So we're saying the first, what's our objective? Our objective is B12. B12 is nothing but your total costs. We want to minimize our total cost of shipping by changing how many pieces we want to ship from each warehouse to each client. And we have certain constraints, and the constraints, of course, are very straightforward and somewhat similar to the previous one. They're always sort of homologous, they don't really go bonkers because you're trying to work through similar bits of hypotheses. So this one is, of course, you can't ship 1.2 items or 1.3 items or 3.935 items. So you want to ship integers. So they have to be integers. They have to be greater than or equal to 0, right, which is this one. Third is that B9 to E9. So B9 to E9 is this set out here, which is the total that you're receiving. The total that you're receiving has to be equal to the numbers that you've ordered, or should be, frankly speaking, more than the number you're ordering. You never want to ship less. You want to either ship that amount, frankly speaking, that amount, or you could simply say that, well, we can deal with some variance in overages, right? And then the fourth idea is how much you want to ship, which is F7 to F8 from each warehouse, should be less than or equal to the amount that you can carry, which is your carrying capacity in the warehouse. So let's reset it and do it sort of fresh. All right, so what's our objective? Our objective is to lower the shipping costs. So minimize our shipping costs. What do we want to change? We want to change, we want to actually figure out, this is a decision part, how many items to ship from which place to where. And what are the constraints? The first constraint is that our decision items that would be shipped must be integers. The second thing is that what we are shipping can't be less than 0, so the greater than or equal to 0. And then the third one is that the total that we're shipping from each warehouse must be less than or equal to the total that the warehouse can hold. And of course, the last one is that the total that will be received by customers should be equal to the amount that they have ordered. And we'll click OK. So once again, what are we trying to do? We are trying to minimize the total cost of shipping from each warehouse to each customer. What do we want to, how do we figure it out? We want to know exactly how many items we should ship from where to whom. Then what are the constraints? Firstly, the items we're shipping, they have to be integers. Secondly, the items that we're shipping can't be anything less than 0. Would you ever make the let me see what Rennie said. Would you make the total received to or greater than or equal? You could, but again, right now inventory comes at such a cost, and we've chatted about this previously, that's the reason why companies like TJ Maxx and Marshalls exist, because that's where what they do is they buy off excess inventory. So companies are constantly trying to predict what is that we need, and they really don't want overages, but you could offer them more. But even if you're offering them, you could ship more, but do realize sometimes it'll come at a penalty. Companies will oftentimes charge you if you ship them more, because for them it's an inventory carrying cost. And inventory holding cost is a very serious cost. That's the reason why right after Black Friday, things go into clearance. Right after Christmas, things go into massive clearance. The whole idea is we need to clear inventory for fall so that we can now move into winter or Christmas. We need to clear inventory for Christmas so that we now can move into spring. So, but again, it depends on what type of company it is. If there aren't any penalties, you might even offer a volume discount by saying, I want to clear it out. So if you pick up more, I'm going to give you a certain discount, and that discount could be anything related to how much would your holding costs be if you were carrying them as a warehouse, because your warehouse also needs to be cleared out for all this stuff, versus how much the discount you need to give them so that they would actually buy off all the stuff. Did I respond to your question, Renee? Thank you. So once we've done that, well, let's go to Simplex, and let's assume Simplex will solve it, and click Solve. So it did find a solution. And the solution is a very interesting one. So firstly, it's saying that, and I'll tell you the decision pieces that come with it too. Your total shipping costs are going to be $265,000 for the quarter. Now, and that's the minimum shipping cost that you can bear. From the Cleveland warehouse, ship 31,000 units to Best Buy, 29,000 units to Sharper Image from the Cleveland warehouse. Don't ship anything from the Cleveland warehouse to Target or Brookstone. Instead, from the Akron warehouse, ship another 16,000 items to Best Buy. Don't ship anything to Sharper Image. Ship 38,000 items from the Akron warehouse to Target and 20,000 items from Akron warehouse to Brookstone. Your total shipped, therefore, is 16,000 from Cleveland, and you don't have any extra inventory. Total shipped from the Akron warehouse is 74,000. Your total inventory carrying capacity is 80,000, which means you have 6,000 items of extra carrying load. Now, oftentimes companies, I don't know if you have heard of these, a lot of warehousing companies are now renting out space within their own warehousing companies to smaller retailers or vendors that sort of stock their pieces. In this case, you might say, you know what, we'll keep another 1,000 item as a buffer, and then for the other 1,000 item space, we'll just rent it out to some company that just wants a quick warehouse solution, but don't want to purchase a warehouse and rather rent space in a warehouse so that they can use our fulfillment services or use our bays or whatever it is. Now, Amazon does this all the time, and that is why you'll oftentimes you'll find something that will say sold by this seller but fulfilled by Amazon, which basically means Amazon builds these massive warehouses and will allocate spaces for other companies to actually hold their inventory and pay Amazon holding costs for using their warehouse. But they can now use Amazon's super fast Prime speedy delivery service for fulfillment, but use it for storage. And that is done all the time. So talking about what do we do with these numbers? Now, of course, you also find that it shows you've got 47,000 items. You've fulfilled all your delivery expectations, or order expectations. 47,000 Best Buy receives, 31,000 from the Cleveland warehouse, and 16,000 from the Akron warehouse. Sharper Image receives 29,000 items, all of them from the Cleveland warehouse. Target and Brooks received 38,000 and 20,000 items, all of them from the Cleveland warehouse. Did that make sense? And I hope it's useful too. Sweet. Thank you very much. Thank you. So you can, whenever you have multiple different places serving multiple different clients, you can use that to your advantage. Fantastic. That sounds brilliant. Okay. Should we take a quick break and then 5 minutes or so and then return, and then we'll get to a couple more and then we'll call it a day? Perfect. That sounds fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. It does sound like an optimal solution, Ken. Thank you very much. Very clever.